Hi, welcome to Voices. I am your host, Keith Major. My guest today, my very special guest, is the president of the Leonard Caribbean Union, here to tell us of his stewardship over the past year in the Atlantic Caribbean Union. Pastor Johnson, welcome to the program.
Brother Keith, it's always a pleasure, and certainly to be back on Voices that we get to share with our people throughout the region.
Pastor Johnson, you must have logged more than 100,000 miles in traveling to the various places this year, sir.
No, sir.
No?
No, certainly not.
I'd like to borrow some of your frequent flyer miles, sir.
Well, I don't look at it in terms of logging miles. It's the usefulness and the purpose for which you travel. Mm-hmm. The Union is not Nassau, where I reside. Mm-hmm. The Union is the entire Bahamas, mm-hmm. the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos Islands, and as vice chairman for the NCU board, that requires that I travel to Jamaica as well for the Northern Caribbean University board meetings. Okay. And of course, being a part of the General Conference Executive Committee and a part of the Inter-American Division Executive Committee, quite obviously you have to travel because meetings are held in different places. Mm-hmm. So I thank God for traveling mercies and for the blessings during the year.
While you're talking about traveling, sir, since the last time we talked, a national tragedy has hit our country.
Yes.
Which involves a minister who travels a lot.
Yes.
Can you address that for us? There are people who wonder, is there a message being sent? How should we react to it? Why didn't God intervene or what? The nation is still somewhat numb from it.
Yeah.
Can you
people ask the question, why did God allow this to happen to Pastor Miles Monroe, his wife, Pastor Richard Pinder, Pastor Parks and his family, Captain Thurston, Cooper, and our Spanish brother? Why did God allow it to happen? We don't always have the answers, Keith. But what we can say from the Bible, bad things do happen to good people. You ever thought about John the Baptist? Why did God not intervene? Why didn't God do something? John was beheaded. That was not a pleasant experience. But having looked at that, we can accept the fact that bad things do happen. Even when you subscribe to the best of diets, sometimes you still take sick because of the overall problem of sin and the effects of sin. But as I reflect on this, my heart goes out to the leadership and the members of BFM and by extension our country. And of course, Sister Ruth Monroe, she has, there's a brother of hers who attends the Freeport Church in Grand Bahama and the North Bahamas Conference, of course, he's their wife as well. That is her sister-in-law. And we convey our condolences. But to think of one religious community, BFM, to have lost about 8 persons and to have endured all of those funeral services, that is tough. Because you lost your founding pastor and leader, you lost the wife, Sister Ruth Monroe, you also lost your youth pastor, you lost your senior pastor, Richard Pinder. That's a lot of people to lose at one time. And so certainly our hearts go out and we convey our condolences, but not just to these ones, because just before we had the funeral the funeral was held for Pastor Miles Monroe and others, there was the funeral for the late Bishop John Humes, another outstanding leader in our country. Of course, he's been ailing for some time and he passed, and so many persons have died. Our hearts go out to all of these persons, certainly.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson. I'm sure those of us who are still wondering how to deal with it, that your statement will help aid us in dealing with this. Your year has basically ended, the year 2014. Give us a brief summary of some of the highlights of the year, some of the goals achieved, probably maybe some of the challenges still out there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about 2014.
The focus for 2014 was evangelism. Of course, there was also the matter of training. And when we look at evangelism, our focus on mission to the city, and that continues in 2015. But in 2014, the North Bahamas Conference launched their mission to the city with Pastor Claudius Morgan. And then in the South Bahamas, they launched their mission to the city with Pastor Peter Joseph. And in the Cayman Islands, there was not really a major outreach, except that they had a number of crusades, and Pastor Puny, stewardship director from the General Conference, ended the year. And over in the Turks and Caicos Islands, they did not have a major thrust, because in 2015, Pastor Cheyenne O'Connor, president of the Cayman Islands Conference, will be the speaker for the mission to the city in Providenciales to take place in 2015 in the Turks and Caicos Islands mission. And over in the Cayman Islands will be Pastor Glenn Samuels, someone that we know very well. He will be the main speaker. And in the South Bahamas Conference, we will have, in 2015, as was reported, Pastor Claudius Morgan. And so it's going to be a wonderful experience as we continue. But we thank God because these efforts that were conducted, some 400 plus souls were added to the kingdom of God. And collectively throughout the entire union, we have witnessed in excess of 1,200 baptisms. Not all that we had hoped for, but we're grateful for the blessings of God. But separate and apart from evangelism, let me just highlight quickly the whole matter of training. And we've had this with several persons coming in. In the Turks and Caicos Islands mission, we had Belkis Archbold from the division focusing on health ministries, and a very important initiative is going to be launched in 2015. And then we had in the North Bahamas Conference, Pastor Samuel Telemac, who focused on training and equipping lay members to become more effective in terms of doing Bible work and bringing and leading people to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. But for our pastors and spouses, we sponsored our ministerial retreat. This was coming together to enjoy some fellowship at a nice place, but also to have training and exposure and to retool and to be equipped. And so these were some of the highlights of 2014. Of course, so many things took place, but we just thought to mention these because you can think about the women's retreat, our youth meetings, we had our young people going to Guatemala. There's so many things that transpired, Brother Keith.
So the church kept us busy this year, huh?
That's how it ought to be. Occupy until I come, says Jesus.
2015 is just about here.
Certainly.
And there are some initiatives that you have. One of the things that I'm aware of is it's the year of the pastor.
Yes.
But I want to preface this by saying a few years ago we had the year of the elder, or the year of the layman. And this was the year of the non-formal education. And now we come to the year of the pastor. What does this mean? What do we do? What's this focus all about on the year of the pastor?
The fact that the church will take some time to focus on the pastor. The pastor is pivotal in terms of the local church, in terms of the advancement of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Our mission, it doesn't matter where you go, in Africa, in Europe, in North America, in Canada, the Caribbean, is the same. It's the same, Brother Keith, and that is based on Revelation chapter 14, the proclamation of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the context of the three angels' messages of Revelation chapter 14. And so the pastor is pivotal in that, preaching and also training. But if the pastor is not really all that, what you say, equipped, is not all that affirmed and encouraged, then we could be missing out. We want to look at the pastors. They are vessels of honor. They've been called by God to represent God, to do a special work for God. But pastors are human beings. They're subject to failures. They're subject to weaknesses and what have you. And so it is good for us to have this focus and this emphasis to take a look at, first of all, why do we exist? What is our calling? What is the purpose of our existence? And what role does the spouse play? How do the children fit into this? Because we are finding out that some of the children of our children do not want to get involved in ministry because of how they view their father being treated and not having this understanding and so on. And so by having this focus, it forces us to take a look at the pastor, not only in terms of his calling, but also how do the members relate and should relate to the pastor. What role can they play in terms of encouraging the pastor so that we have a strong ministerial body?
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. You talk about affirming the pastor.
Yes.
And my question was going to be, well, I'm sure from your level you're affirming him. What can members do? What are some things members can do to affirm the pastor?
Okay. One, just words of encouragement. You know, you've been in the insurance industry for a number of years, and when you have your agents and your middle managers performing well, what do? You encourage them.
Yes.
And it's not just always financial,
Right.
but a word of encouragement, a recognition. Yeah. And so that is key. We have the Day of the Pastor every year. Do something for your pastor. It doesn't have to be that you give the pastor a big gift sometime or an evening for two. The pastor has small children, we'll take care of the children, allow you and the spouse to go out. Or let's take out a subscription for our pastor. Mm-hmm. Let's give him, maybe the pastor is overworked. Let's send him to the spa. Yeah. So he has some pampering and so on. So these are some things that we can do, some simple things, right? You know, you read a lot. As you come across things, from time to time, you will share them with me. Imagine the members coming across like anecdotes, stories, things that can be used for illustration. Dwight Nelson, the pastor of Pioneer Memorial in Michigan at Andrews University, he talks about how his members send certain clippings and stories, and he uses these in as part of his messages. So these are some things that you can do, and certainly pray for your pastor. Sometimes you have members have a Sabbath meal, and the focus of the discussion is the pastor. What is the pastor not doing? Yes. What he should be doing? Yes. If you really feel that strongly about your pastor, call him aside. If you don't want to talk with him alone, get one or two persons and in a non-threatening way, dialogue and express your concern, but also look at some definite steps as to how I can help my pastor to improve and to be more effective.
You think it would help too if members kind of understood the true role of the pastors? Some members believe that the pastor must be at the beck and call 24/7 of everybody, and often some understanding of his limitation. Like you mentioned, he is human.
Yes, he is.
And we tend to forget that he's a man from God and he should be such and such. Well, we're going to continue discussion. When we come back, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about another one of your initiatives for next year. I want to live healthy. We'll touch on the general conference, and also we'll talk a little bit about you changing your TV station. We'll come back with those in a short while.
The house is on fire. The house is on fire. If you saw that headline, if that was happening, what would you do? Can I tell you that it's not a house, but the world is going to be on fire? Hey, there was a time when the world was destroyed by flood. Noah, after preaching for 120 years, the Bible says that water covered the face of this earth. But I've got good news for you. It's not going to be water next time, but fire. How do you avoid that, you ask me? It's by giving Christ our hearts. It's by saying, yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. Here's what the Bible says. If you hear his voice today, you should not harden your heart. The truth be told, Jesus is coming again. And the Bible says every eye shall see him. I'm so happy that when Jesus comes again, it's not going to be a secret rapture. That's right. If that was the case, then God would be doing us an injustice, and God cannot do us an injustice. In other words, we catch hell down here sometimes. We go through our difficulties. We go through stress. We have so much heartache sometimes. Can you imagine Jesus, as it were, sneaking us back up to heaven? Nobody knows about it. No, no, no. You have come through so much. The Bible calls it great tribulation, that when Christ comes for us, he is going to come with all the host of heaven and earth. They're going to come down to pick us up. The Bible says Jesus' feet will not touch the earth again. He is going to hover in the sky, in the air, as it were. And it says the dead in Christ shall rise first. And then those of us that are alive and remain shall be caught up together to meet the Lord there. I want to be in that number. Do you want to be in that number? Are you living to be in that number? I'm wanting to encourage you today. As you go through these days and these hours, remember, if you give your heart to Christ, Christ will accept you just as you are. He will make the change. He will fix things in your life so that everything that he asks you to do, he will give you the power to do it. Stay with Christ, and Christ will never leave nor forsake you.
Welcome back. I'm here with our special guest on Voices today, Dr. Leonard Johnson, President of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. Dr. Johnson, you spoke about the Year of the Pastor.
Yes.
There is an initiative that you are doing here called Operation Contact.
Yes. In terms of the Year of the Pastor, we not only seeking to affirm, but to retool, to re-equip. And one of the things we are promoting is Operation Contact, where we have senior pastors going out with junior pastors, and then pastors just going out with pastors, so that we learn from one another. And we've actually started this already. In the some of the fields, I have gone out with some of the young pastors in the Bahamas, in Turks and Caicos, and also in the Cayman Islands. Only one area of the Bahamas we haven't done it as yet. But Operation Contact, we are seeking through the pastors to make contact with every single member. You talked about it in the first segment, where some members expect the pastor to respond to everything. He cannot do it. The pastor cannot do it. Only so much time he has. He has to prepare, he has to make time for the family and so on. But certainly, for any pastor to be effective, he must visit. Visitation is key because it informs the pastor as to where the members are. And it also gives him an idea of what he needs to preach. Not knocking on people, but it helps him to be sensitive. And also when you visit, it builds relationship. People do not care how much you know. They want to know how much you care for them. And so when you visit, it does something because I'm able to identify with my people. And so Operation Contact is something that is going to be launched, but technically it's already been launched. And that's going to be something you will hear more about.
So we should expect more pastoral visitation.
Oh, certainly.
And not only when you're sick or somebody's died.
No. We're going out, we're knocking on doors, we're calling on our members, certainly. But it's giving us the opportunity not only to reach the members, but to mentor one another.
At the recent annual council of the General Conference, the emphasis was placed on health.
Yes.
Some speakers even spoke about every sermon having some health impact. And I see where you have an initiative for 2015 called I Want to Be Healthy.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's entitled I Want to Live Healthy. This program is very, very important, Brother Keith. The health message is not something that's to be isolated from the gospel message. It is intertwined. It is there. When people enjoy a quality of health, they can serve God better. They can be around for a little longer in many instances, right? And so you would have been acquainted with something Dr. A has been doing in the South Bahamas Conference for a number of years, is where you have persons are brought into a central location and they're taught the basic principles and fundamentals of good health. What we are saying, let's take it to another level. Let's not just invite everybody, person from the community. What we are saying, let us train every single member and empower the members now to share with their neighbors, with their friends. And so we now will be focusing on training our members the basic laws of health: rest, sunshine, the proper amount of water to be consumed each day, looking at temperance. These are some of the things that we'll be looking at. So when you train the members, they now will go knocking on doors. And this is something that has worked very effectively, especially in Mexico. I was a part of it in Mexico. All we do is that we would go to, what we did was that we went to doors. I went out with a group just off from Monterrey, Mexico. We knocked on doors and we did not even pray. We didn't talk about the Bible. We asked the persons that they were interested in having a better quality of life. And many persons responded positively. It's a Catholic community, okay? And we stayed, for the most part, right at the door. And every week, we would go back with another aspect of their health laws. And let me tell you, at the end of it, they had a major rally where they invited government leaders, the Minister for Health, and people came together and they had a large salad. But they were communicating vital messages and principles. VAT is on its way. We want to eat healthy, and we have to focus on that which is absolutely necessary. And so this gives the church a golden opportunity. In fact, you would have heard the Prime Minister in the Bahamas has challenged the church to do something about health. And so we are seeking to train our members, and then our members now will go out and launch these programs. And it's kind of hard for you to be telling somebody else to do something that you yourself are not practicing. So we feel this is going to be very effective.
So you're going to look for the healthy members in our church?
No, we want every member.
Even the unhealthy ones can take this message?
Yes. You see, because when we train you,
yes,
you're going to be following. It's not just book knowledge, you know.
Yes.
It's something practical. Yes. So you and I, Brother Keith, will be following the training and practicing the principles, and now we go and we share with others, and people don't feel threatened that way because there are people that you will reach that I will not reach.
Yes. One of our problems is too much ice cream. So, yeah, our problem is not meat. Our problem is ice cream and cake. But anyway, let's move on. We have a lot of topics.
You're running.
We have
but
a lot
that's
of topics.
all right.
We have a lot of topics. No, I'll come back to it, but we have a lot of topics to cover. General conference session. The church meets every 5 years in a major city in a huge stadium where 2,000 plus delegates gather in a 75,000 seat stadium, which we only use on weekends. There are huge costs. Why does the church need to meet in this fashion every 5 years? Pastor Johnson.
When you look at the system of governance that obtains within the Adventist Church, we're representative form, okay? It is necessary for the people to come together to do the business of the church. It is not one or two persons. You mentioned some 2,000 plus delegates, all right? If you're only looking at 2,000 persons, you could get a smaller place. But with those 2,000 persons, you also have guests, special guests. You have family members, children and spouses who accompany them. Then you have workers from the different entities who are working to ensure that everything would go well. But apart from that, Brother Keith, please remember now, we go into a specific area. In this particular instance, in 2015, in North America. So you have the people within Texas where we're going to be. They are invited to be a part. The general conference session is not a closed meeting. In terms of our nominating committee and special committees, yes, but as we come out to report and to do the business of the church, it is open to the public. You cannot vote. You do not have a voice, but it's open. So why would you have it in a small place when we have so many of our members from throughout the world who want to come and see their church in action? We make provision for them. Yes, it is costly, but that does something for the members. They're able to bond, they're able to meet with their leaders, they're able to see how the church operates. It builds confidence, and it helps people to refocus on why this church exists. It is to proclaim the everlasting gospel in the context of Revelation chapter 14.
My producers are signaling to me that our time is racing. So my other, if there is,
We may have to take a few
if
extra
we
minutes
left,
today.
yes, yes. 'Cause I don't want to run off of that. If there is something,
Right.
How many delegates are coming from your union to the general conference? I don't know if you have that. Is there something else you want to tell us about the general conference? The session coming up in San Antonio, Texas. I understand.
Yes.
Last time I was there was in 1997.
It's 14 plus delegates, if I'm not mistaken, from the Union territory. You know, we have all of the conference presidents who are going, and we have from the Union, some 14, 16 delegates.
And you sat on the executive committee last time that chose the president.
The nominating committee.
Nominating committee.
Nominating committee,
Will
yes.
you be there again this time, sir?
It is likely, as a union president,
Yes.
that I would be a part of the nominating committee.
Okay.
You know, but one of the items on the agenda will be that of the whole matter of ordination of female pastors. You'll recall some years ago, over 2 years ago, a special commission on the theology of ordination was appointed to look into the whole matter of ordination. And coming out of ordination, no doubt you will have this whole matter of ordination of female pastors.
Yeah.
And so there will be an action that will be on the floor for discussion as to whether or not we should allow those divisions that may deem it necessary to ordain female pastors to go ahead, as opposed to everybody going ahead and ordaining female pastors. That will be something for discussion.
Yes,
and already
and
there's a lot of discussion on that now.
Right, and while I don't want to make this program a discussion of that, I was somewhat surprised that this important committee, which met over 2 years, didn't make its own recommendation. It is bringing it to the delegates. And when we look at the makeup of the church, in which 36% are from South America, another 31% from Africa, 7% from the United States. When you bring that to the delegates, then cultural biases may kick in, which may cause that to not be passed.
There's always that possibility.
Yes.
But when you look at how the question is likely to be framed, it is not saying, do you accept? You see, something I need to say as a backdrop. For 40 years, this whole matter of ordination has been something that has been studied and discussed. They have not found, over the 40 years, anything concrete to say that you cannot ordain or that you should ordain. And so it boils down to something of being, for some people, pragmatic. Do you do this in the interest of the church? And so the question now, do you allow, or would you give your brethren in a particular division the blessing and the go-ahead if there is this need for this aspect of ministry to do it? So you see it as a reasonable question.
Yeah.
So I cannot predict what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
But I am praying that God's will be done.
Isn't it amazing, though, that most of the things we do within our church, most of the departments, the AY, the youth, the publishing, the organization of the church, was all from writings by a female? Ain't that a paradox?
Yes. But you know, people have strong convictions on things. In fact, the past Sabbath, I was in a given place preaching, and a brother came to me at the end and say, where does this thing about women's ordination come up? Show me in the Bible, you know. And I'm trying to explain, but his mind was already made up. It didn't make sense trying to explain, you know.
Well, we have to take another break. Our producers has given us some more time. So we'll take a break, and I'll come back. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the TV station we'll be dealing with. And certainly you want to hear the Christmas greetings from Dr. Johnson. We'll be right back.
We are people, and we love to get connected. We connect as families because of birth. We connect as friends because we click. And we connect as communities because we care. Seventh-day Adventists are people who connect in communities called congregations, which in turn connect to form conferences, who connect together to form unions, divisions, and the General Conference. Why do we connect? It starts with a connection to the Creator, who invites us on a spiritual journey. When we journey together, we can help each other along the way. This journey is a journey of a lifetime, and as we learn and grow, life becomes filled with meaning and purpose. Our greatest joy is in helping others along the way. Wherever you are on your journey, we believe that we have something to offer that can make your life more whole. So the next time you see a Seventh-day Adventist, remember, you're not looking at someone who stands alone. They are connected to a world church that has 18 million members, gathered in 13 divisions, comprised of 122 unions, formed by 600 conferences, serving in 140,000 congregations in 208 countries, who worship in 924 languages, and they all want to connect with you.
Welcome back to Voices. I'm your host, Keith Major. Again, my special guest is Dr. Leonard Johnson, giving us a highlight of his previous stewardship for last year and talking about upcoming events and in general things going on in the Worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church. He is the president of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. Dr. Johnson, again, it's good to have you here, sir.
It's good to be back.
Let's go back to the topic of what a nation. Women's.
Figured you would come back to that. I know you.
Well, you know, I'm trying to represent the people and their thoughts and there are as you, if the church at large cannot come with a decision. Imagine what your members out here how that kind of is. But just to delve a little bit into the discussion, what is driving or what drove us to this point where we have to pass it on to other delegates. After all these years of studying, we still don't come up with a definitive position. When in fact, to the membership, you guys go and study and you usually come back and say, "Thus says the Lord," but not on this one. So anyway, Pastor Johnson.
But that ought to tell us something, right? As I said before the break, that for 40 years, the church has been looking at this topic. You question some members, it is straightforward. Women, according to the Bible, should not be ordained. You question some others, according to the Bible, women should be ordained. But we have brought together our scholars, those who are for and those who are against. And let me tell you, Brother Keith, after studying again, they have not come up with anything definitive to say for or against. And you could go on the website and check the documents, all right? But having said that, shouldn't we still come to a decision?
Yes. Pastor, yes. Isn't it true that in many of our churches, the dominance of women keeps the church going in terms of the membership? Does it mean that we should lord ourselves over them? And there are those who may become skeptical and say, well, how is it that the church with all these scholars cannot come with a definitive position? Or is it the will of the Lord that we study this and continue to have Moses's leading us and not Miriam's?
Well, you know, it is my sincere prayer that at this upcoming General Conference session in 2015 in San Antonio, that this matter would be settled in terms of a decision being taken. Now, the fear of some people is that if the church votes to allow those divisions that are ready to move ahead with the ordination of female pastors, it will divide the church. But historically, when I look over things that we have decided on, I cannot say that it has divided the church or those things have divided the church. Case in point, the ordination of female elders. And what is so interesting, it was, if I'm not mistaken, during the watch or the leadership of the current General Conference president's father, that is Neil Wilson, that this matter of ordaining female elders was voted. Now, that's 20 years plus since that decision was taken. Has that divided the church?
No.
No.
Have the churches ordained them with, with consistency?
Okay. Well, you see, the point here now, that's a good question you raise, and which ties in with this whole matter of ordination of female pastors. Those churches and fields that do not feel that it is necessary to ordain female elders, they have not done it. But the church continues to exist, and those who thought it necessary went ahead and did it. Now, you have, even within our union, there are some churches within the union that will have female elders, and there are some that will not have female elders. The leadership of the respective fields, are they forcing these churches to ordain female elders? As far as I know, no. I'm not aware of any of our leaders that are forcing the members or a given church to ordain female elders. All right? And so look at it now. If the decision is taken to grant the okay and the blessing to those divisions that are ready, it doesn't mean that every union within those divisions will embrace the ordination of female pastors. And even if a union votes to do it, not every field might be ready to do it. And so to me, it is not a difficult situation in that sense. It is allowing, if there's nothing biblical that prevents the church from doing it, I'm saying that if the church decides to go ahead and do it, I don't think that it will divide us, Brother Keith, based on our past. And I don't think that it will be a major issue because no one will be forced. The provision is there, but you're not being forced to do so.
Pastor Johnson, isn't it true that the reason the church is seriously looking at this is because of the North American division and the Trans-European division going ahead and doing it without the blessing of the church, and it is forced. It is forced this look at, and in my opinion, neither of them are going to turn back. They're going to move forward.
Yeah, and someone can argue that, right? But if we say 40 years, we go back to 40 years. Can we truly say that they are the main ones? The fact that we've been studying this for 40 years points to the fact that this has been on the table for some time, even before some of the current issues have come about. So this matter even came up, and I don't have the reference, and I hate to do this. It's something that came up in an earlier general conference going way back then when this whole matter of ordination came up. And I'll stop there because I don't have the information. And in my position, once I quote something, it becomes gospel. Yeah, so I have to be very careful.
Well, here you and I are defending these 2 points, and the world church with its top educators still couldn't come to a definitive issue. But I think what we wanted to do is to lay out to the members and the viewers
what it is.
What it is, and that is the intention.
Right.
Well, let's move on to another topic, Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson, 3ABN has been in this union, in this country for many years. I've been watching it from early years, 30 years. And it has become a fixture in this area to the point where people link it with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. There seems to be a move afoot to move from them to, you'll tell us, another channel. Why? What's going to be the impact of this?
The communications department of the union, which is headed by Pastor Andrew Burroughs, has what is known as a committee of communication directors, personnel that make up the union. And one of the things that was discussed was the matter of bringing the official channel of the church, which is really Hope TV. A lot of people may not be aware it is not 3ABN. 3ABN is an independent operated ministry. And certainly we don't want to discredit 3ABN.
Pause there, Pastor. I'm sure there are, pause, I mean, that's not for the cameras to pause. Oh. But I'm saying, you made a statement, Elder, just now, that it is not the station of the Seventh Adventists, basically, in essence. Viewers, members, and all alike probably are understanding that now or hearing it for the first time. It has been linked. These people are Seventh-day Adventist people, and they see operating it with and herein I think lies the challenge of moving from 3ABN to
Hope TV.
To Hope. What will the market, how will the market respond?
Yeah, let me back up a little. When the church years ago went to the then CEO of Cable Bahamas, Rick Patty, years ago, to consider airing 3ABN, it was because this was all that was there at the time. But years later, when the church went back and wanted to have Hope TV to be introduced, it was said to the church at that time, would you consider just having Hope TV to replace 3ABN? And the church said no, because knowing the viewership of 3ABN and how 3ABN has impacted the Bahamas, it would not have been the right thing to do. So an additional channel was provided, all right? But since that time, the cable company has really expanded and so on. And we are so on to witness another television provider in terms of Batelco or BTC, all right? And so it is only fitting, Brother Keith, that the members who collectively sponsor 3ABN be given the opportunity to have its official channel to receive more prominence in terms of being a part of the basic. And so the plan of the communication department through its committee is not to remove 3ABN, but to have a switch, a swap, so to speak, where you would have, now we have on channel 53, 3ABN, you will have Hope TV. And then where Hope TV is now, on channel 653, you would have 3ABN. Okay.
So if I have the basic package,
yes,
3ABN will be taken away from me.
Well, as we have been informed, many persons subscribe to that
full package.
The full package, the package that includes Hope TV, because the full package will include some other things. But so that is not a major problem. And your other question is, what are we doing to market this so that people understand? Yeah. The communications department is in contact with 3ABN. That's 3ABN, Cable Bahamas. And Cable Bahamas has already agreed to carry a message at the bottom of both channels, but albeit not at the same time. They will start with one channel, then go to the other channel, informing people of the switch that is to take place effective January 1 or early 2015.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. And so it is being sensitive to the many viewers and subscribers to 3ABN. And like you said, and I guess I look so surprised when you caught me there, right? A lot of people really would be surprised to know that 3ABN is not the official channel of the Seventh-day Adventist organization. It has done well and will continue to do well. It receives our blessing and endorsement, but Hope TV. And you will see a wide range of programming that really encompasses all of the church in its
I'll come
in its
back to that
entirety.
part. Yeah, I'll come back to that, Pastor Johnson, when we come back from the break.
Okay.
I have to take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what is hope bringing to us that 3ABN is and why, and other than it's the church's station.
Okay.
And then we'll talk a little bit about Christmas and your Christmas message to us. We'll be right back.
The Journal of Pediatrics reports that teen girls who spend a lot of recreational time on the internet are more likely to see their weight creeping slowly up than adolescents who spend less time in front of the computer screen. The association between computer use and weight held true even when the researchers accounted for the amount of exercise the girls were getting. That's a fact. But there's hope. Rather than merely imposing limits on computer time, encourage your teen daughter to engage in additional recreational activities, such as after-school sports and clubs, hobbies, musical instruments, or even volunteering at local charities. If she is spending time in other pursuits, she will likely be using up more calories than just sitting at the computer. So, less time on the computer plus more time spent on sports or music equals less calories and a better health.
Hi, we're back for our final segment of today's program. And I'm here again with Dr. Leonard Johnson, President of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. I am your host, Keith Major. When we broke the last time, Pastor Johnson, we were talking about the 3ABN and Hope channel
What Hope
and the
offers.
intended switch
Yes.
from a station that we grew up with. What is Hope TV going to bring in terms of programming? That we may miss from 3ABN, or like you said, we're not losing it
Yes.
totally, but at the same time, why then? Why you seem to be gung ho over Hope? Is it just because you represent the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
No,
and it's
remember
your station,
what I
and you
said.
want to push this for your church?
Yes. What I said earlier, the communications department of the church, the union, is seeking to bring to the fore the official channel of the church. Now, and I want to underscore again, the department is not going to do away with 3ABN. Certainly not. 3ABN has been around and will continue to be around. And in a matter of time, it's going to be prominent, just as prominent as Hope TV in a matter of time. Trust me, as I've been reliably informed. But in terms of the offerings of Hope, unlike 3ABN, 3ABN is privately owned. It's an independent ministry. And so they will decide on the programs that they carry. There are some programs of the church that they will not carry because as far as they're concerned, it do not fit into their mission, all right? But Hope TV is all-encompassing. It is the church in Africa, the church in the Caribbean, the church in North America, the church in Europe, the church in Asia, and you're going to see this more so than what you would have seen on 3ABN. But there's something that is different coming up too that we have to prepare for, and that is Hope Inter America, all right? The communication department will tell you that in 2015, the Inter-American Division is looking at 3 channels in terms of Hope TV. One in English, one in Spanish, and one in French. And look at that, Brother Keith. Within the Union territory is predominantly English, but we have many Haitian members. We have a number of Spanish members, okay? And so Hope TV Inter-America is going to have this feature where we will be able to cater to our members who speak Spanish, French, in addition to those who speak English. So we will be able not only to see the world, but we'll be able to zoom in on what's taking place within the Inter-American Division. And so to have Hope TV where it is, not everybody on the Family Islands benefit from that package that Cable Bahamas offers. And so for the wider viewership, we thought it's only fair that the members who pay for this, who ensure that 3ABN I mean, that has been carried should be given the opportunity now, because they're paying for it, to have access to Hope TV, all right? And they're going to see the blessings.
So let me understand you. The access to Hope TV will be greater for those in our family islands in the Bahamas, other than what 3ABN did?
Until you have some upgrading, because right now, as you know, Hope TV is not seen in certain family islands, all right? But 3ABN is seen in more family islands. Of course, it's not seen in all of the family islands. But with BTC, we're hoping that all of the channels will be seen eventually.
I want to talk a little bit about VAT. Now, I'm not going to presume that you're a VAT expert, but
I'm not.
but some churches I attend, not necessarily Adventist churches, I hear preachers warning about the impact of VAT, the financial impact that VAT is going to have on its members. And they're using this to warn the members to be more prudent in their whatever spending and all that.
Certainly.
You can't comment on that aspect of it?
I can tell you, apart from attending a number of meetings myself, and we've had other leaders who've attended, but commendation to the local fields, in particular the South Bahamas Conference, a number of meetings have been held to inform and to apprise and to expose the members as to what to expect in terms of VAT, even at the high school. There's been a presentation by the PTA bringing in persons from the appropriate ministry to address this whole matter of VAT and how this is to impact upon our schools and how this is to impact upon our members. And so as a church, a responsible church, we do support the need for added income on the part of the government. Taxes are not new. We've seen them in the time of the Bible as well. But as you've rightly indicated, the thrust behind having different persons that come in is to prepare the members and to see where we need to make adjustments so that we prepare for the 7.5% increase on services and goods. And by the grace of God, we will make it. My prayer is that the government will be very prudent, frugal in its spending, and with added income, do not now increase its expenses.
Possibly we're down to about 7 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about the Christmas season, then allow you a few minutes to give us a sort of a Christmas greeting. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la.
Wow.
Now, we when I was growing up, I never had a problem with the Seventh-day Adventist Church accepting Christmas and that sort of a thing. But it seems of late I've been having pastors and those kinds of people, and so everybody's getting up there and apologizing. We know we don't believe in this and all this other stuff, right? I never had to deal with that before. Why is it that we don't imbibe the joy of Christmas, so to speak, and spread it? What is the official position of the church in terms of whether we celebrate Christmas or not?
We do not believe that Jesus was born on the 25th of December, all right? But the incarnation did take place, and that is what we celebrate. Now, having said that, because with the birth of Christ, the incarnation, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus. Why? For he shall save his people excuse me, from their sins. And his name shall be called Emmanuel, which being interpreted, God is with us. So the joy of the coming of Christ is something that I get to experience not only during a given period of the year, but throughout the year, because Emmanuel, God is with us. And lo, I'm with you always, even unto the end. And the salvation that Jesus brings is something that is offered to all. Now, having said that, Ellen White, in the book Adventist Home, has a chapter on Christmas. And I find that Ellen White is very practical in that chapter. While we do not celebrate Christmas like the world, she admonished parents with children, especially small ones, to capitalize on the occasion and purchase gifts for the children, but teach them the true meaning of the coming of Christ, as the world supposedly now is focusing on Christ. It seemed to be more on the merchandise and the marketing to see how much money I can make at this time. But she admonished parents to embrace this opportunity to teach their children about Christ. And if you read further, she would suggest having a Christmas tree set up in the church and having the members to come to bring their gifts, and we use these funds to help those in need. Now, that would be kind of radical in some of our places, right? But what is the message that I get from this? Is she saying, go ahead and celebrate Christmas? Ellen White was being practical. She was saying to me, capitalize on the occasion, embrace the opportunity. People are having Christmas program, concerts, and so on. Let's use the time and the opportunity to focus and to zero in on Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Johnson. I trust that it's taken within the spirit it's given.
Certainly.
We have a few minutes left, and I'm going to allow you this time to bring special Christmas greetings to your constituents or to your parishioners or to the union field at large. Your time, sir.
When we think about Christmas, one of the songs that come to mind is Silent Night, Holy Night. But when we look around in the Bahamas, and we look around the Turks and Caicos Islands, and we look around the Cayman Islands, we have to admit the nights are not so much silent. Gunshots continue to ring out. The cries and the screaming of missing loved ones ring out in our ears. We talk about the peace, we talk about the joy the Bible alludes to. But when you look at the faces of these persons, having lost a son, having lost a father, having lost a boyfriend, you ask the question, where is the joy? It seems as the closer we get to the second coming of Jesus Christ, the meaning of Christmas is being eclipsed by what the devil would have us to see. It is my prayer that during this time, you will find again the joy of Christ. For Jesus says, I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Your joy is real. Your joy is certain, but is only found in knowing Christ and accepting Christ. So it is my wish for you during this time of the year that you'll become reacquainted with Christ, notwithstanding all that you've gone through and all that you're going through at this moment, that you will find some peace within your nights. You will sense the voice of God in the midst of the guns being fired. You will sense the presence of God. For lo, he says, I am with you always, even unto the end. May God bless you, and may you experience his joy now and always.
And there you have it, and I would like to wish you, sir, the best for the holidays and also a great and exciting new year in this year, your union territory, and all the best for you and your family.
And same to you, Brother Keith, and your family, and thanks for the contribution that you make to Voices. And I say this on behalf of the team, Andrew, Garcia, and the others. We really appreciate your input, and certainly the blessings of all of the members of the team here that make and produce Voices.
Thank you. So there you have it, Pastor Dr. Leonard Johnson, President of the Atlantic Caribbean Union, on a wide range of topics, and also a stewardship report on what has happened in the Union, comprising the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Cayman Islands, the North Bahamas, and the South Bahamas, the entire Bahamas, letting us know what is going on and that our aim is still the proclamation of the gospel in these parts. As one person said, a good report maketh the bones fast. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year to all of you, and until next time.